Hi, I'm Dr. Mike Smith, and I am here again with the next episode of the Great Business Stories of St. Louis, Missouri. Today, I have Matthew Shipp on. Matt, tell us about your company.
Thanks, Mike, for having me on the show. My company is called MBerry Solutions. What I do is I facilitate effective results driven workshops, and that creates the foundation in your business for achieving your goals faster or discovering your challenge and creating solutions for those challenges.
Great. That sounds complicated, a lot like business coaching. Everybody's like, I don't really understand what that means. I understand accounting, I understand finance, I understand bookkeeping, I understand marketing. So, Matt, give us an example. Give us an example of someone that you've worked with. Give us an example of this it makes it a little bit easier for us, okay?
Okay. Yeah, and first, unlike business coaching, what I end up doing is I really pull on the team's knowledge base, and since I'm an outside facilitator, I usually don't do as much guide. Well, I do guiding, but I don't do as much. Uh, what we say is consulting. But in case
Mhm.
what you're saying, and this is a perfect example. One of the cases I had a coffee shop, and their one of their secondary coffee shops wasn't doing so well, and we went in just to find out what was going on with the team. And this was where the owner was having a real lack of collaboration, and he thought he thought he knew what they needed, but they were coming back with something different every time, and he's just like, I can't untangle this. So they brought me in, and we ran a 2.5 hour workshop. And so what happened was, the team wasn't providing, or able to define the needs or the challenges. And I facilitated a simple workshop where they got to pull out their challenges and decide which were the most significant challenges, and then start in that same moment of time, start creating solutions, and again choose their best solutions, and then create an action plan around those to test the solution. That's the big difference. Is I'm not telling you there's your solution, go off and conquer. I'm telling you, pick a couple aspects from this potential solution you have, and go out for about 2 weeks and test it, and come back, and then we'll review what's working and what's not working, and you start creating this funnel effect of toward almost like a gold star of what the solution really is. So you're just you're testing, finding out what's working, what's not, and then moving forward with what you think is next. We did this with this team, and in about a month, well, about 3 months time, they went from being in the red to having a 30% sale increase in 3 months. And the managers and the owners are now clear on their team's needs, and that was the biggest problem. What we uncovered was they weren't sure what they were supposed to do beyond their role. And this was something that never would have come up on a one-on-one meeting with your manager or even with the owner. And because they were too afraid to admit that. And once that came up as a collective, the owner was able to stand up and say, yes, try stuff, make mistakes, do things without telling me. Just let me know you're going to do them, and I'll get back to you. And then it's on me if I didn't get back to you. You tried it anyway. That freed up the manager for focusing on their roles, and it focused the team on trying to be more active problem solvers. And again, because of that, they increased their sales by 30%.
That's awesome. That is great news. So, you want to give another example? That's what industry was that company in?
That was a coffee shop. I worked with
Okay.
I collaborated with the coffee shop for a while, and so a lot of my case studies come out of that. Another one,
No, those are great. So I think about coffee shops, I think about bakeries, I think
yeah.
about breakfast cafes, I think
Mhm.
about how that, if you put a square peg into a square hole, right, it fits really good. So coffee shops, donut shops,
Yeah,
um,
it goes way beyond. I mean,
yeah,
this
yeah,
could go into banking. This could go
yeah,
into
yeah. So give us an example if
sales
you got
stuff
another,
like that.
if you've got another example, give us another example if you'd like. If not, that's fine as well.
Yeah, yeah,
I like
no
that one with the
problem.
coffee shop.
Yeah, and
30%,
this
30% is significant anywhere.
is
If you have a
significant.
small
Yeah, yeah,
number or a big number, it's 30% is significant.
yeah. The other one again was with that coffee shop. They were it was kind of funny. We were they had a line problem where the line was getting backed up, and it wasn't the baristas behind the bar were slow. It was they had a paper menu at the front of the cash register, and nobody got to see it until they got to the front. So everybody in line had
Mm.
no idea what they wanted until they got there. So like, well, let's just hang a sign. And the owner's like, well, can we make one of those digital signs? Because we're constantly changing things. We want to kind of make it look more modern. And we did some research, and it was definitely price prohibitive for them. And then the next question was, can we make one? I'm like, let's go find out. And this is why I like what I do, is I get to discover new effective ways of helping teams out. So I designed a workshop where the baristas and managers all came together and pulled on their knowledge and put together what they thought would be the best like digital menu system for themselves and designed it. We happened to find a one of the baristas was a going to school for graphic design, so she took their concepts and we all chose our favorite aspects of each person's concept, pulled that together into a master. She made that master more graphically appealing. Then at that point, and only at that point, did the owner have the final decision. So he wasn't the decision maker at the beginning; he was decision maker near the end, which is kind of what you want in a leader. You want your team to pull all these resources together, choose what they think is the best, and then the owner kind of gets that final tweak. And once they did, all the only investment they had was buying 3 flat screen monitors, and we figured out a way to make it so they could edit it quickly and easily. The baristas had buy-in for this, so they take care of it even to this day, and they're saving, I think, a normal subscription for one of these, modular monitor systems, menu systems, is like $350 subscription a month. To this day, for the last 2 years, they're still saving $350 a month. They've created
Well,
it, they can edit it, they can take care of it, and they pass that knowledge on.
yeah, let's consider it. That's $3,700 a year, right? It's pretty good
Yeah.
savings. Excellent.
Mhm.
Excellent. So what made you decide to take the as the E-Myth would call it, created the entrepreneurial seizure for you that made you decide that you wanted to create your own business and go out and start doing that, and tell us when you started as well.
So let's go all the way back to about 2019, and I was working in a laboratory. So I have a 16-year career as a molecular plant biologist, and I was working in the lab
Mhm.
and kind of starting. The discovery was fun. That's what I really enjoyed about it. But I was kind of doing the same things over and over again. Eventually, I was like, "What do I enjoy the most? What I'm doing here?" And it was truly the problem solving. But I was
Mhm.
really grinding down on how to make processes and systems more effective for me and for other people. And that's where I went off on my science route and said, "Hey, let me test this idea out." And I pulled some of the pipeline managers in the research and said, "What problems are you having?" And we went into a whiteboard room, and I just said, "Tell me your process from beginning to end when your research enters the pipeline and when it leaves." And instead of just like writing out like an SOP, I started drawing it out with arrows and real simple symbols and stuff. And by doing that and making it visual, they would often stop me halfway through the process and run out the door and come back and go, "Okay, let's keep going." They were fixing problems in real time because they were seeing them
Mhm.
differently and actually seeing the bottlenecks and immediately knowing,
Gotcha.
"Oh, this is what I have to do." And at that moment, I knew I was onto something. And I kind of stepped out of the research and tried to discover what that was. And then, just a whole normal discovery is like, okay, this is how do I make a business out of this? Because I was a recluse with a pipette up until 4 years ago. And
Mhm.
so, and I was like, okay, well, maybe this is fun, but maybe I have to get back into the science careers again. So I was just doing job searching, and then COVID hit, ended all that because nobody was hiring. I'm like, okay, well, I'll continue to pursue this a little further. Found some other groups doing things slightly similar, and they gave me a backbone to kind of latch my ideas onto and create these workshops that are very flexible, very bespoke. And from there, I was able to detach my theory, which is kind of like the scientific method with the human element thrown in, and onto their exercises. And that's what became MBerry Solutions.
Gotcha. That's a great story. So out of the ashes of COVID became MBerry Solutions, and we got Matthew Shipp here as the owner. It's great.
Yeah, absolutely.
Um, so as we go through, I understand that you have a podcast, and I know I understand that because I was actually a guest of it.
Yes.
Tell
Yeah.
us the name of your podcast and tell us what the theme is, and if someone's interested, they might want to be on that. So tell us a little bit about it.
Absolutely. Thank you. It is called Harvest to Pour Business of Beverages. Now, I interview beverage industry owners, but I also interview those B2B type of companies that support the beverage industry or support companies similar to the beverage industry. So, Harvest to Pour initially started for me trying to create leads out of the beverage industry, but it has
Hmm.
grown to more of a B2B um, uh, a podcast. And so Harvest Support has taken on another meaning as in um, idea to execution. And you can,
Hmm.
and that's, very similar even when you're talking to a beverage industry owner or we're talking to someone like you, Mike, and how you can help the
Mhm,
industry and your discovery of what you like to do and how you can
mhm,
help them. And what I have found through 65 episodes so far is beverage industry owners' problems are other industry owners' problems. So I
mhm,
encourage everybody to, have a listen and see what they can learn from it. If you are,
mhm.
in fact, a um, beverage industry owner, business owner, or somebody who supports that industry.
Gotcha. That's great. And I appreciate you having me on that podcast.
Hmm.
So tell me a little bit about how you balanced between obviously you got you get a personal life. Tell us about how you balance your personal life and your professional life together because as we work remotely and we do those things, there comes a big blur between what's my house, what's my office, and when's my work time and when's my personal time, and all those blurs that are out there. And I will tell you, and this is a fact, out of the 100%, and I will tell you the one you would say that no, that's not true. 100% of the people I talk to about coaching all have a time issue. It's all about time.
Hmm.
So
Hmm.
balancing that time is very critical. So tell us how you balance the time between your personal and your family. I'll make one
Uh,
caveat to that. If you think you don't have if you think you don't have a time problem, let me talk to your spouse because I will find out that you do have a time problem.
there's
Go.
always a time problem. Yeah, there's never enough time to get everything done. I do keep a kind of a, I don't know what they call it, a diary or a
Mhm,
what do they call those? The books, the
mhm.
uh, basically my
Journal,
tasks and stuff, my journal,
your
my
journal, yeah,
tasks of
yeah.
every day. And
Mhm,
what I have done is I've noticed that if I buy one that's already like pre-printed,
mhm,
and you just fill in the things, your task and how you're going to do it, your calendar, I never do those. Uh, and but if I sit down and look at one and then redraw it in a blank notebook, I will do
mhm.
it every time. I have to recreate everything because
Yeah,
just like what I do, I'm always tweaking and I'm always modifying and I'm always improving. If I lock myself into a box, I won't do it. So that kind of goes in with my time management. And if it's written down, um, I've got to do it. Now, however, keeping that discipline and keeping that consistency is always a challenge. But I've also, created one tweak I've made. This might help somebody else.
mhm,
Is you always have your task and your things on your radar. Like, if I get to it, I get to it. But there's also one more I added that I discovered I need called my off radar. And that's when you're talking to somebody you're like, oh yeah, we need to go meet this person and do this. You should go take a look at this book and da da da. And it's like, oh, this needs to be a to do for my following week. And instead of jotting it down someplace else, I put it on my off radar for that day, but I only leave enough room to put one new task on that. And that's so I'm not intentionally overwhelming myself with everybody's well-meaning advice. So that's kind of how I've controlled some of that and time and being also I am a cub master of 47 little kids. And that is also another dedication, but it kind of keeps me grounded, working with those kids as well.
that's great work. My lodge actually sponsored the Boy Scout troop, and
Ah,
we pay for all their stuff, and they do a great job. And we give them free space and a lot of other things. So very, very well warranted. So we meet. Let's just say we're at a networking event, and we meet, and you and I talk. What's your engagement model? So tell me how okay, so you and I talk, and I go, okay, I could see, well, we had our first day. We had we're at a networking event. I like what you're doing. Like
mhm.
to hear more. Tell me what the next steps are in that.
So this is one of my biggest struggles is clarity of what I do. Like you mentioned, coach is really
Mhm,
hard to describe
mhm,
how we're unique
mhm,
and from each other, but we all are.
mhm, mhm,
So yeah, the clarity and messaging has been a challenge. So what I've gone back to is not going real fancy, but just literally saying what I am. And I know it's just confusing enough for people to ask, well, tell me what that is. And that's kind of become my hook. So I'm a facilitator and workshop designer. Well, what's that?
yeah,
And glad you asked. Actually, let me ask you a real quick question. What in your what are some what's a quick challenge you're having right now in your business, or what's something that that you would like to achieve faster? And then they'll come back and I go, great, this is something I like to help with. And you can kind of use a flag, or I can tell a story. It's like, better yet, let me tell you how I help, like I said, the coffee shop, or let me tell you how I a challenge I did with Blue Cross Blue Shield. And that's kind of what, and then at the end, I'll explain it. And then I go, that's kind of what I do is, does that sound familiar to you? So either one or two different ways. Either asking them, but if they're not too sure, then I'll just switch into a story and then ask them if there's something similar. Does that sound something similar to in their business challenge they were having? So that's kind of how I get them talking. I keep them. I let the person I'm trying to talk more.
So you're looking for a couple conversations to see if there's something that fits is what you're trying to do versus, you're not selling, you're just trying to understand it,
Yeah,
and offer
I think
solutions.
I'm trying to give them a point of reference so they can understand. Oh, well, that's cool. It may not be for me, but Bob next door here, and that that I refer a lot. He's been saying a few of those things that you brought up. So it effectively they can qualify themselves or they can qualify somebody else.
Gotcha. Perfect. Um, so we're both in a lot of networking events. I do, BNI,
Hmm.
ACA, number nine, and the Friday group, others,
Hmm.
and of course, Networkathon.
Hmm.
We're members of the ACA together. So tell us who your ideal referral partner is, and then when you wrap that up, tell us who your ideal client would be.
All right, yeah. Ideal referral partner right now. It seems to be an ever moving scape, but right now it's business brokers. They are going through a lot of different companies, and they have systems and processes, and usually team challenges when they're buying and selling that I can potentially step into and help. Um, Help the business broker either sweeten the deal or post deal, come in and kind of step in and help make sure the transition happens easier. Uh, Another one would be fractional COOs or team leadership like people. What would I call them? Process improvement individuals. So
Okay, gotcha.
I can do process improvement, or fractional or work with fractional COOs. They're more they fall under the terms more of a consultant, and sometimes they don't have time to be the guide. They're just saying go do this, fill out
Hmm.
this form. So it's a lot more rigid system, and they're going to
Hmm.
analyze numbers and KPIs, where I'm going to come in and say, okay,
Hmm.
what do you want to what are your next goals over the next 2 years, and how many different ideas do you have for them? Let's go through and identify the ones that are going to bring you the most profit, through a shorter, like 3-hour workshop or something with their team. So it kind of steps outside but augments what a fractional COO would do.
Perfect. That's great. That's great. So, if you get a client, you're looking for clients who we talked about the coffee shop, but what other industries are you looking for?
Well, as I said, I'm looking for a business owner. In the industry, it isn't as important as the problem. So or the owner. I'm looking
Oh,
for
yeah,
a
process.
business owner or an ideal client that likes to kick the tires of their own company and likes to
Hmm.
try new things. Is open to knows their team has a lot of knowledge, because I often say that your team are your best consultants, because they're in the dirt with the business, and they see things that nobody else will see. But you have to be able to effectively get that information and ideas out, and that's where I like to step in with the team and the owner and help effectively get those best ideas out. So the owner has to be open to that and not just think of their team as cogs in their machine, but much more than that.
Perfect. Great. Well, thank you very much. Matt, anything else that you want to, you go by Matt or Matthew? I always call you Matt. So,
Matthew works, Matt
or
works.
Matt.
I just kind of alternate in between. I don't even pay attention to when they say Matt or Matthew.
All right. Again, so how can someone get a hold of you? Tell us your website, spell it out for us. Tell us how someone can get a hold of you once they listen here.
Yeah, if you're curious, you can go to my website, MBerrySolutions.com. That's EMBERI
Hmm.
Solutions.com. You can and then you can click on the contact. It'll email me. Also, if you're curious about what I do, and it's still kind of like I said, we're just talking about it, not showing it. You like to see a little what I do. I have an in person, or not in person, but I will be there with you, in person or digital. Um, a 45-minute demo I can run with you or your team, called a business bottleneck breakthrough. And all that does is shows you how quickly we can identify your top challenges, your
Hmm.
top three challenges, and then kind of guide you, and then kind of just break it down, like where have you been with it? What are you doing with it? And have you done anything with it at all? And then we'll go from there. But it's just it's a small little exercise we do together. We can do it in person or we can do it remotely.
Thank you very much. Have a great day, and thanks for being on the show.
All right. Thank you.